Hi everyone, today's Monday, January the 20th. My name is Anne-Marie Band and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. We do have a holiday in the equities, so we won't be covering SPY or the Qs today. We'll just be looking at the futures, and of course they will close early in observation of both Martin Luther King Jr. Day and we do have the inauguration going today. So what are we looking at? First thing I want to show you, we start on the weeklies. Monthlies are still showing by the dip. Everything looks pretty solid there, as it were. But the dips are going to be something that we have to contend with in the near term. What do I suspect? Potentially a blow off top, but the dips are going to be a really nice buy point. So the wave I've measured is the last major wave. I think is important. Let me take this rectangle out and this rectangle out so we have less clutter. And now we're just looking at this box here. We've broken out old resistance, new support. That number's 57.20. The halfback here in the ES is 54.13. Okay, so breakaway formations look like they're at around 60.75. This could really squeeze the shorts if we get up above here. So this breakout area above this zone, if you're prepared to go long, might be interesting. The problem is we've got negative divergence, so that push north could easily fade. The better bets are dips being the buy zones, or if you get into the very tight time frames and we lose the close, let's delete these horizontal lines. We can draw some new ones. If we fail to hold the close of the prior day, we should have ourselves a nice little fade. It's very sideways, folks. I would say the deep edges near 58.68 going to be very nice levels on a daily time frame for us to get involved, with our stop probably near 58.66. So we want to watch out for that, certainly. The fact is, right now, we are unable to stay above the close of Friday, and that gives us a little bit of a fade action in progress. We do want to pay attention to that close very carefully. We start hovering above it at 60.35 or so. We know we've got a likely chance of upside pressure. Volume will be light today, but from a momentum perspective, dips or buys. I know I sound like a broken record. All right, let's go to the hourly. From the hourly perspective, we can see everything's a bit sideways. Here's the close of Friday. Oh, excuse me. Here's the open of last night. The close of Friday, right around that zone. If they start getting above it, we know we'll have buyers very interested. Right now, the next liquidity band is at 60.17 below. That should give us an opportunity for some reflexive buyers to come in there, but don't give it too much room. If it doesn't immediately bounce off that zone, it's probably likely to break to the south, fill in this low volume area, and then, here we are at the point of control at 59.85. Let's get to the NQ. Let's start at the weekly. A lot of noise, right? Let's remove these horizontal lines for now. All right, and we are back inside of this box. What we can see is the last wave I've measured that I think is the one we're rotating through. We bounced off of it last week, along with the moving average right here that we're staring down. That's an exponential 20, right? We are well below the close of Friday. That's going to be an important line. Let's put a line there. Okay, close of Friday. The goal is, if we get above that area, probably going to squeeze the sellers and we bounce higher. Right now, we're very likely rotating right back down into this area near 20,983. That's also pretty interesting line because it represents the wave that I just measured. Let's take a look at that wave to remind us. That's the high of the wave, 20,983, low of the wave, 17,351, and we are sitting above that retrace. If we lose it, half back at 19,167 could easily be where we head to right now. The line in the sand, 20,983. If it dips below it, wait until it recovers to take the long. In my estimation, that would be the better thing to do. The half, the 1.5 times is 22,800. Could we get to that zone? Very likely. Very likely that we get to that zone eventually. But as it sits, the key buy zone, 20,983. If it gets below that, hovers there, start thinking about short action. If it recovers, you've got to change your mind and say, all right, maybe we're in a sideways patch. 22,161 to the lower edge of 22,152 gives us the high potentially on the day. If we take a look at the daily chart, we can see that things are fairly sideways, right? We've got dips being bought way on the bottom. And so that's where we should go. Again, 20,983. Wait for it to recover properly. How does that look on an hourly chart? Let's take a look at how many times. I'm going to remove that fib. Take a look at how many times and in how many ways it breaks through this 20,983, bounces into a high that can't hold, wicks start showing up. It should tell you, hey, wait a second, moving averages are flat. I'm rotating down. I'm underneath this hull. That's not the right break, right? The right break comes here on the 15th of January, where it rotates, momentum is higher, it closes above those moving averages, and it's off to the races. So notice how your first time buying that dip tells us, hey, wait a second, I either need to have my stop at break even, or I start closing it once it gets outside of this 1 hour opening range. Let's take a look at the YM. Here's a stare down of, let's delete these. Don't get addicted to looking at your lines. Don't be afraid to redraw them either. Here is the wave that seems to be the most important one. It could have been this wave back here, but I like the wave from July 15 to August the 5th. It rotates up. That's resistance at 41,672. That becomes support. It's been retested in a bottoming formation, holding. But look at momentum. Momentum tells us that the bounces here, very likely to be sell zones. Where might that be? That's the rub. They could be all the way up here at 44,800, could be at 46,300 at the top of the measured move. That's really what you're going to have to watch for. In my mind, dips are buys, but there's a fairly good selling opportunity at 43,600 as long as the traders don't get ahead of themselves and break out of this range. Don't give it a ton of time. Remember, we're underneath one moving average and above two, and our momentum is at the zero line. So this is a range-based trade. Ideally, 41,672 for the long, 44,803 for the short. If we look at the daily chart, we can see that sideways range. Just a mess, right? Point of control, 42,500. VWAP for the range, 41,800. And here we are trying to stay above 43,607. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a fight club here. Dips, 43,236. Also looking like a pretty solid buy zone at the first pass, because we'll catch the buyers trying to buy it on the cheap. Notice rotation of the moving averages telling us we have some bullish pressure, but momentum is very steep. And when momentum gets steep, we normally rotate into support zones that allow us better opportunities for risk to reward. very sideways. Opening range of the candlestick, we're caught right in the middle of it. We wait for the dip. That area, again, 43,610. Stop should not be any more than 30 ticks wide. Super quick look at the RTY because it's at the halfback. And so let's take a peek. Let's delete all the horizontal lines. And here's what we'll notice. Here's our box. This is the halfback. This is the recent wave I'm picking, July 29, really August 5th. That's the rotation that seems the most likely. Where are we? I think we're heading back here. 2156, right? 2001.56. Breakaway, 2320. Moving averages very sideways. Momentum, move either up or down. My thought is the deep dips going to give us that buy zone 2156. Don't hang out there for a long time. If it doesn't immediately reflexively move off of it, it's got more downside to go. On the daily chart, we're seeing the same thing, the desire to lift out of this very tight range in the RTY. Resistance, 2320. I think that's a sell zone for now. The ideal buy zone, anywhere around 2156. Maybe you could try something at 2210, but that's still a very messy zone. Momentum tells us that we should wait for the dip action at least into the volume point of control if we're trying to run this one down. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Well, we know that two new coins have hit the stage. One is the Melania coin, and the other is the Trump coin. And so those are the times we live in. The wave that I measured here, we have to go to the weekly to take a look at it. It's all the way down here from March 11 to the low August 5th across the board. All of these charts show August 5th as that near-term low. It's moved out of the range. The 1.618 to the 2.618 is up here at 115,929. Should this breathe a little? My thought is yes. My thought is this looks like a megaphone to me. And so no idea what the traders are going to do, except for the fact that I think there's going to be some profit taking at about 115,000, 116. Might be a nice place to short. Pullback action still showing buy zones galore, right? Are we looking at a topping formation? Potentially. But it really does look like if it can come down to 100,000, that more buyers will show up there. So that looks like the near-term buy zone. Here, this is the point of control at 96,000. You know, I'm not looking for anything unless it's a very deep dip. And I like that deep dip at about 90,000. So I'm putting the brakes on watching and moving in this chart in the near term in any kind of dramatic way. Notice this line in the sand of 104 is the opening candlestick formation. Very big deal. It holds the low. So as long as we keep above the high at 104,000, easily you could have yourself a buy zone. Lots of liquidity sitting there. So if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I want to trade this intraday, 104,000 would be the area to wait for. If you're interested in shorting it, happens to be coming into a short action event right now at 107,500. So shorting from 107 would mean that your stop would need to be about $2,000 wide. Well, maybe not. Maybe 108,200 using the micro Bitcoin. That won't be savage, but slopes are up. Momentum is high. Might even be better to wait for where your stop is engaged to initiate the trade, which should be about 108.5. 108.5. All right, let's take a look at oil. Weekly charts. Look at this sideways pressure. Mercy. The wave I chose was this one from May the 1st of 2023 to September the 25th of 2023. Okay, so that's how long we've been sitting in the slog, essentially, for this particular contract. So notice we still have lower highs. We're now sitting at the half back of the entire range. The bottom of the range, 63. Half back of the range, 79. Volume point of control, 77.85. Momentum, high. It's moved up. Dips are showing buy zones here in oil. Where are the dips? Heavy congestion, 72.19. From a weekly perspective, if we chart this on a daily, that number gets a lot closer to where we are, and that number is value area high at 76.19. Notice what's happened to the pricing of oil. Higher, we got to this 80-ish area. We know how important that line is, right? 80.70 or something like that. Let's put it here. And the last 2 trading days, bounces, sell off, bounces, sell off. So I believe we're rotating back into the 76.14 and potentially 73.50. Okay, so dips, definitely buy zones here. You want to be very careful if it breaches 79.34 if you're thinking about shorting, because that's going to give us a new run to the north, and liquidity is 83.56. So dips or buys. You want to short this market, I'd wait for topping formation that confirms, because momentum is pretty strong on the dips. What are they trying to hold? Volume point of control and the VWAP almost right in the same place. Could they be trying to lift this up? Yes. Intraday, this is presenting a small buying opportunity. Maybe 77.80 might be where you'd really want to get in. 77.70, something like that, and then press it into the 79.34. Price action really compressing right now. Okay, let's go to gold. Remember I said 27.42 or 27.40 was near-term resistance after the 2700 break. Now we're up there at 27.50. This tells me that central banks continue to buy gold. There is a problem in fiat currencies worldwide, and so they are continuing to lift gold even as the dollar holds higher. Even in everything, they are buying gold. So any dip action we see should be a buy zone. From a weekly perspective, the risk is a little wide, right? So you want to maybe use a micro gold contract if you're looking at this, but from a weekly perspective, we're above all of the moving averages. Momentum is mixed. So we could easily see sellers at 2,800. The dips are going to be buys. What I love for the dips, man, if it could come back to 26.18, I'd love it. 26.71, also fantastic. If I'm looking to run an intraday or daily cycle, I might be looking for 2,712. Topping formation and a sideways action event here if we look at the daily in gold, but dips clearly buy zones. So that 2712, what is this number? Value area high is that 2700. So I'm going to be patient here and wait for it to come into my price. I think we see a lot of market volatility, so you just want to be careful. All right, everyone, take care. Good luck trading today. I'm taking it light. Going to be doing a lot of admin stuff, and I'll see you all in the fray tomorrow.